Hi, welcome everybody to another episode of eJenn Solutions, the podcast series. And today I'm really excited to bring to you Christian Wolf of the Torrance Cultural Arts Foundation in Torrance, California. Yay! Thank you for joining us. And sorry, Christian is the executive director of the Performing Arts Center out there. And so he's going to bring to us some really great tips for musicians and artists and really how to promote events on social media and really what someone like himself as an executive director would be looking for. So Christian, thank you for coming. And can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
I've been a presenter, producer, director, magician, performer, writer.
Did you say magician?
Yes. That was my entry into entertainment when I was 12 years old. My parents gave me a magic trick, and it was downhill from there. But I've been a presenter at different venues for the past 25 years and worked with a number of artists in a number of different venues, everywhere from 199 seats to 1,500 seats.
Wow.
And right now at the Torrance Cultural Arts Foundation, we work with the Armstrong Theater, which is 500 seats, and the Nakano Theater, which is a black box, which we typically will make into a cabaret space or a small performance space.
And can you tell just the little difference between the two, like that one, the cabaret? What type of shows do you typically have there, or do you bring in?
Well, like for the Armstrong Theater, which is a 500 seat, we usually get touring artists or we self-produce. Prime example is we do a couple of fundraising events or just one of our missions is to help up-and-coming artists. So we do South Bay's Got Talent, where we have local competition of talent ranging from 7 to 70 years old, and they compete for cash prizes and trophies and scholarship to the World Championship of Performing Arts.
Wow.
And we have 6 judges ranging from performers to agents and managers and the CEO of the World Championship.
Wow.
And then we do Dancing with the South Bay Stars, which is a fundraising event for us and 10 other organizations. And then we bring in touring artists from, we've had Hal Holbrook do his one-night show. We've had Simon or Art Garfunkel, Easton, a number of different artists, but typically artists, touring artists. In our cabaret space, that's sort of my fun space where I get to bring in new and yet discovered or smaller artists that are still sort of making their way up in the world. And sometimes I'll plug in artists that are just local people that I've found on the internet or through reference, somebody referred somebody. And then we also have one of our cabarets is we have one of our touring performers work with a couple of the kids from South Bay's Got Talent, and they get to perform with his band and sing a couple numbers to give them some time on stage and be able to perform with some professionals.
That's kind of cool.
It is. It's fun.
Yeah. So how many years have you been with Torrance, or with TOCA is what we call it?
In April, it'll be 10 years.
Wow. That's a long time. Yes. Congratulations.
Thank
so I didn't mean to cut you off. So, and then you were going to talk about the James Armstrong?
No, I did talk about the James Armstrong, which is mostly just touring artists, but in the Nakano, it's the cabaret. And then we also do smaller storytelling events. We have, every year we do some magic shows in there. I gotta do a magic show every year. It's part of who I am. It's a really kind of a jewel because it's free parking. It's centrally located in the South Bay. It's easy to find. Some great restaurants around. It's a nice venue, and it's quiet. You don't have to go downtown. You don't have to go to travel very far, and we do good work.
Yeah. And then I've obviously, because I've worked with you, seen a lot of the shows and they've been great. I mean, fantastic artists. Um, so one of the things that, because I'm going to go back to some of the things that you said, you indicated that for the smaller theater that you really kind of searched for, I guess I would call them indie acts, maybe. I don't know if I'm using the right term, or people that are just starting and up and coming. And but you didn't just you mentioned that it was either word of mouth or you saw them on the internet. Can you kind of give us some examples of the internet search or things that you kind of look for?
Well, it's, I got to say, Facebook is very useful because somebody will post just a prime example. I haven't even spoken to this artist yet. So um, somebody had posted online that they were at a concert with this group and they posted, I think, like a clip of their song. And I thought, oh, hey, they sound pretty cool. So I looked them up on the internet. They're local. I thought, they would be great for the cabaret space. So I'm going to reach out to them and see if they're interested.
Yeah.
Typically, it's like Facebook. There's also a couple of pages that have like different indie acts come, that they post songs. So I'll keep an eye on that. I'll see who's playing around at different smaller clubs, venues. And people will tell me, hey, I just saw so and so, and it was really great. So then I'll go check them out.
So that's interesting. So you're probably more of a Facebook person versus maybe Instagram or Twitter when you do your searches or see things.
Yes. Although I'm trying to be better at Instagram, Twitter just boggles my mind. It's
Well,
like,
don't most people, you either love it or hate it.
yeah,
It's
I found
so
that. My
it's
wife is very pro Twitter. She'll sit there all day looking at it. It's like, maybe it's because I like more than just, somebody speaking at me. I like
yeah.
to see more than that. So Instagram it's great because I can see some pictures and, I don't have to read long stories. Facebook, I've just sort of gotten accustomed to Facebook. So that's where I'm at.
Well, and I would think Facebook gives you more of an overall picture, especially if you're looking for performance, whereas you're seeing actual clips probably from a concert or where someone is, because I know live streaming is big, although sometimes people are cutting that off now at concerts. But yeah, I would think, and then on Instagram, you only have a certain amount of time to really look. So like you said, it's probably very short.
Yeah.
And Twitter, I get it. I love Twitter, but I know not everybody does. So, but it is a media space, as you know, as you well know. It is a space where, well, especially in your area, a lot of the TV anchors, everybody's on Twitter. They're always following things, especially disaster hashtags and
Sure.
all of that. But anyway, what would you say is the biggest challenge for you as an executive, director, trying to pick out acts and then like how do you determine that from the band or the performer's point of view? Are there things that they can do maybe to help you out to make a selection? Like, is there anything that you look for? I'm asking for all the juicy details.
Yeah, well, yes. The short answer is yes. There's lots that they can do. It's interesting because for a performer for a show, everyone seems to think that they want to give you a sizzle reel of just like the high points of the show, kind of like a preview, which is great for marketing the show online or when we do stuff to help market the show. But for me, I need to see the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just because I've been burned once where I booked a show that I hadn't seen. I just trusted the agent. I said it was with an actual like name actor, and I said, okay, well, I know the actor, I know the material kind of. The agent said it's a brand new show. It's going to be great. So we booked it, and it was just a disaster. He gets up on stage and he starts the show, and then the next thing I know, he's calling for lions off stage. And it was
Oh, that would be bad.
Yeah. So I always try and see the artist perform in a live environment, especially musicians, because in the cabaret space, we have a very rabid subscriber base who just love the performers. But if the performer just gets up there and does one song after another, they may get their fill musically, but they feel like they've missed something because the artist doesn't really connect with them. And it's such an intimate venue that if the artist doesn't really reach out to them and chat with them and, sort of, I guess, schmooze them up for lack of a better term, then they kind of walk away feeling, well, I didn't really care for that much.
Right.
So seeing an artist in a live space is preferred. If not seeing them live, at least seeing a clip of a live performance. And I mean, it kind of goes across the board. You'll get artists who are I have a friend, Chipper Lowell, who's a comedy magician, who is so savvy when it comes to marketing and self-promotion. I'm in awe of what he does. He has a great website. He changes it up all the time. He's always got great photos. And then you get other people who don't know the first thing about what a great photo looks like, or how to make a good web presence. And especially when you're looking at like the younger kids, I say kids, 20-somethings, who I'll be talking to them and trying to help them out and say, hey, you really should, try get on social media more. And then they'll post something that says, this is effing awesome. And it's like, you don't do that, because it just, I don't know. To me, it just doesn't speak well to the artist.
So branding is a huge thing, from what I'm hearing. In other words,
absolutely.
So when you look at their social profiles, are you seeing that it's cohesive with the band or singer or musician or magician? I said them all. To them and the show, or would you say the problem could be like a mix between your personal life and the show? Is that kind of where?
Well, that's another good point, is because I've had friends who are a performer, and they sort of shared their personal and professional Facebook pages,
Mm-hmm.
or it was actually just them, but they would post stuff for their shows, and then they would post stuff personally. And then in recent years, when politics started getting really conflicting, they would post their views online. And I said, you know what? You don't want to do that, because I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. If somebody on the other side of the aisle wants to book you, they read that, they may not book you.
Yeah, you lost 50% no matter what of your audience.
Exactly.
When you do that. And, and if we've heard about how many times performers from stage have said something, and then everyone's up in arms and their sales go down, and venues are canceling them and things of that nature. So no, that's a great point. I wasn't even thinking about that. I think there's a certain amount of personal side to it that people love to see about performers. But I think what you said, keeping personal things personal.
Well, it's great when you have an artist that stands for something and
Right.
has a passion about a certain cause. And my big thing is that all artists should be authentic to themselves and their art. I mean, they really need to, otherwise why do it if you can't really be who you want to be?
Right.
But just know how to play the game. You can be true to a cause and not necessarily be political.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope.
Yeah.
I'm rethinking that, and that may be really stupid because if you're really passionate about a cause, if it's a political cause, yes, you're going to be political.
Yeah. Oh, this is true, especially if your show is political.
Right.
But I think there's a certain when you're starting out, I think when you have a following, people already know just based on the things you do where you stand politically anyway. I think that just kind of comes with the territory. And of course, if you're a comedian, that's part of the game, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I think there's different variables as to when to start that, but certainly not offensive would probably be the big.
Yes, that goes without saying.
So, the interesting thing that you brought up is the sizzle reel, because I've seen a lot of sizzle reels over social media, obviously, and you're right. I mean, the purpose of a sizzle reel is to make it sizzle, to make it exciting and wonderful.
Right.
And it's like 30 seconds, right? Is that typical 30
Yes.
to 60? And so really, what do you get from that? So I could see that as being like an intro and say, this is it. But if you have time, here's the fuller version, the whole version. And then,
Well, and that for me as a presenter and a producer, that's ideal. If somebody says, "Hey, here's our sizzle reel," if you're interested, click here to go to a full length performance, or even better yet, if you're not busy on Saturday, whatever, come see me. That's all great.
Oh, that's a great idea. See, that's even better than what I would have thought. Come out and see me.
Right. And that, I mean, I don't know. Some presenters are very active in going out to see shows. Others aren't. I personally scour the paper and, look for information and to shows that are coming up or performers that are coming up. And if they strike my interest, I'll go, I'll try and go see them. But yeah, it's always make sure that you have the ability to send out a full-length show, or at least clips of you performing in front of an audience, so that I can see, okay, the audience is into this, the audience loves them. My wife hates going to shows with me because half the time I'm like looking the audience, making sure they're having a good time. And if they're bored, then it's like, why would I bring you in?
Yeah. So that's a really good point too. So that's a lot of what I do is I try to look at what happens in real life and bring that to the online world. And sometimes people have a hard time translating that, but that is very true. What you said, you're watching the audience for reactions on social media. We kind of want to see that reaction too. Was that picture good? Was that video good? Did people like it? Did it go over like a lead balloon? It's the same concept. And so you have to constantly be tweaking. I would assume the performer obviously has to do that with the audience and how they connect with the audience. And the same thing with social media. Do you find a correlation between their social media page? It could be Facebook or, because everyone's good at usually one sector. Do you find that there's a correlation between that and their performance type? I don't know if that's making sense. Are they really good at one and then they come in and it's exactly the same way as what you've seen on social media?
No.
Okay.
It's interesting because there's this one group that I'm thinking of in particular who had asked, who was in one of our South Bay Got Talent shows, and he was, now trying to sort of pursue the music thing, and they're slowly getting gigs, and they're, getting known, and they don't really have an online presence. They do post on occasion on Facebook. Their photos, I don't think serve them to the best that they could. I don't think it really suits their musical style, but it's really tough because performers, they want to create their art, and it's like that's awesome. You should do that because that's what you were put on this earth for. But you also need to be able to learn how to sell it. After all, it is show business. And you need to know what makes you look good, what makes you sound good. And it's not always doing it yourself.
Yeah.
It's sometimes you need somebody to come in and say, okay, stop wearing this, stop putting your hair like that, stop writing this or doing that, because it's just not, it's at the end of the day, it's not going to get you to where you want to be.
I think though, with any creative, that is the thing. Like they don't want to think about accounting. They don't want to think about the marketing. I just want to create. I just want to bare my soul. I just want to do all of that. They don't, exactly what you said. No one really wants to do all the marketing.
And that's fine. And that's totally fine. Just be prepared for where you're going to be in 10 years.
Yeah.
Because you will still be working a 9-to-5 job doing, gigs at a bar. And that's fine. The world needs that. I'm not downplaying that at all. But if your end result is to make a living as a musician or a performer or a magician or whatever, really think about how you're being perceived, because the audience's perception is their reality, and you can't do anything to change that except for present yourself in a way that they will understand and accept you and want to listen to you.
Yeah, I mean, very true. Very, very true. So would your best advice then be to hone your craft, really figure out that engagement, probably both from a social media side and with a audience? I'm going back to the engagement on social media because, again, you brought up that you've seen acts through other people's posts. It's not necessarily you were searching for if something came through on your news feed and you've seen it, and then you went out and searched them. So again, that would be the engagement part that performer or performance may have had and opened up a whole, you never know who's watching out there.
That's true, especially now in social media. I mean, it used to be, for me, I would go, back in the day, I would look at the LA Times when the LA Times had a nice calendar section that you could actually get information out of. And I would, scour the listings to see who was playing where, what shows coming up. And I would go see people that didn't necessarily have a touring show, but then I would go to them and say, hey, I really like the show. Can I book you? And now that's all been taken away from.
Oops, you kind of froze there. We got, now that's all been taken away and that was it.
Oh, and so now it's just, that's where I go to is Facebook and social media to find things.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, especially when they're probably locally at that point, because you're seeing it from your friends on Facebook, plus you're seeing things that are probably tagged Torrance or South Bay, things of that nature. No, that's great.
And when I'm looking at touring shows, I'm usually going to booking conferences, whether it's Western Arts Alliance or Arts Presenters or Arts Midwest or wherever. And that's where I find a lot of the touring performers or agents will call me and pitch something. But usually when it comes to the cabaret space or the smaller space, I need to find something that doesn't cost $10,000, $15,000 that I can put up for 2 nights at a reasonable amount, because we only seat like 100 people.
And I would think that would be a great base for these artists to start to build their community up more too, because now they've just got a whole room full of brand new people, in essence, that you've introduced them to, that, they can keep up with their emails. I'm assuming, I don't know what your policies are, but in some fashion, they could attract those people to their pages and their social media too.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's a great thing. Well, I know we're getting close to our time here. Did you have any one tip for a performer out there that you would say would be the most important thing as they're trying to get from that next level, as you said, from the bar scene to an actual performance?
Don't be afraid to ask stupid questions of people who you think might have answers to. This community, the community of presenters, is really nice. And if you pick up the phone and call, I can't speak for everybody, but you call a local presenter and say, hey, you know, I'm a new musician, magician, performer, whatever. Do you have any thoughts or help? Can you help me out in any way? You never know what they're going to say. You can always, you know, pick up a phone. And the other thing too is, please, on anything you hand out, have your name, phone number, website, and Facebook, whatever, because I cannot tell you how many CDs I get that has the name of the band and with no contact information.
You know, I'm telling you, I run into that so often that it's mind-boggling.
It really is.
And if they have and sometimes they don't have a site or even social media because they are just starting. So even if you try to Google search them, you can't find it. Right. Or even on their website, there's no contact. I've seen that.
And know what you got out there. And the other last thing is on your downloadable pictures or pictures that you send somebody, don't change the name of it so it has your name or the name of the and or whatever, because I get these pictures that have, what is it, like a code for like an image picture.
Yeah, it'll just say like image 049.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than saying, you know, this is Joe Blow's band promo picture or whatever. I mean, you have room to put stuff in there. Call it what it is, so I know what I'm looking at.
That is huge even for us. It takes a lot of extra time to figure out who's who and where. And it's simply just changing it when you go to save it. Just change it. Change the name to the person, the show, the event, the date, whatever. And I'll give you a little tip above that. It is great for SEO. So if you put in your band name and a location as great SEO. So there's a lot of reasons to do that. But awesome. Well, I thank you very much. And do you want to just tell us a little bit about the performing arts and your website and roughly the range of shows and all that good stuff?
Well, our season starts in September. We just had our South Bay's Got Talent this Saturday, and next Saturday we have a couple of other shows. The website is Torrance Arts, ARTS.org. And feel free to reach me at cwolf@torrancearts.org or on Facebook or Twitter or whatever else you're on. I'm sure I'll be there.
Yeah, I'm just going to show everyone. I'm going to screen share now, so those that are listening won't see this, but everybody else is watching the video well. So we, of course, have all your shows, and you have a family series. You have, that's right, you have National Theater Live this year, which that's really interesting and exciting. Mm-hmm. That's actually, can you explain that a little bit? That's with in your theater, it's a film, but.
Right, it's basically a filmed play that's been done at the National Theater in the UK. So they do some amazing work. And they shoot it on high definition video, and then we download it from them and play it back.
Great. And then, of course, you have season subscribers and all that good stuff as well. Well, thank you very much. And I'm sure we'll have questions. I will send them over to you. But I appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate all that you do.
Have a great day. Bye, everyone. Oops. So